Hello BookTube, my name is Elizabeth. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Book as in Books. This video is a wrap-up of what I've read in the last few weeks, but there's a theme to that because we are in Framed in September, which is a brand new readathon of which I am one of the hosts. I'm going to leave links in the description box to my fellow co-hosts and to my announcement video in case you have missed it and would like to join, because September is not over, so there's still time. So the idea of the readathon is very simple. We are simply inviting you to read books about art. We also invite you to experience art and perhaps maybe to create art. But for this video, it's just about reading books about art. So without further ado, here are the books that I've read. If you've seen my Pile of Possibilities video, you will maybe perhaps notice that the books that I'm going to talk about don't have much in common with the books in my Pile of Possibilities video. That's what I do. That's what I do. I make great plans, see all the interesting books I want to read, and then what happens? I find other interesting books that I end up reading. And that's a little bit what's happening now. Doesn't matter. They're books, they're good books, and they're about art, which is what counts. So the first book I want to talk about, I have not quite finished it, so it's a bit of a currently reading book. It is On Beauty by Umberto Eco. It is not strictly speaking about art, because even though there are gorgeous reproductions, dozens and dozens of them, like this, or this, or this, I can open the book at not every page, almost every page, and there's going to be a photograph, a reproduction, there's going to be a work of art. However, this is not a book about the history of art. At the library, so this comes from the library, at the library the books on art are in the 700 section, and this is in the 100 section, so 111. So it's a bit in the philosophy section or literary criticism section, because what Eco does is that he goes to the texts of philosophers, of writers, of essayists, and find excerpts that are about beauty. So this is about our notion, collective notion of beauty and how it evolved. And with that, he just juxtaposes the works of art. He does not explain the work of art at all. He mentions them sometimes, but only if it's relevant to the particular philosophical aspect of beauty that he has to talk about. And it's up to the reader to make the link between what the writers were writing about beauty and the works of art that are reproduced in the book. And I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant way to go about it. However, I have to admit that some passages go somewhat, just a little bit above my head. If you've ever read a Maigret novel by Georges Simenon, Simenon had the principle of never writing a word that the reader could not immediately picture. So his writing was made of very concrete words, very concrete objects and actions, things that were very down to earth. And I think that Umberto Eco goes deliberately in the other direction. If he can use a word that is completely abstract, he's going to add it to another word that is completely abstract, and then another one, and then through all of these layers of glasses, try to figure out what's on the other side. I'm going to give you an example. That one struck me in particular as being particularly abstract, like an abstract notion plus an abstract notion plus an abstract notion equals this statement, which can mean a lot of things. So it's about what a man called Bonaventure wrote. I'm sure he has an equivalent in English because he's a saint, but I do not know what the equivalent name in English is. So I'm just going to stick to Bonaventure. So the sentence is, and precisely in virtue of these mystic implications and of his philosophy, Bonaventure is led to emphasize the cosmic and ecstatic aspects of an aesthetics of light. I have no idea what it means. I had a bit of an idea when I was reading it because it was a bit more in context, but now that I'm farther later in the book and I forgot a little bit the exact precise context of the sentence, I don't know what it means. But it's okay because it comes with gorgeous reproductions. And I have to say, I think I spend more time looking at the reproductions than reading the text. Look at that. So beauty can come in many forms. So it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and I enjoy reading it very much. So we have the works of art, we have the essay part that is by Umberto Eco, I presume, and then we have the original texts that are the sources. So on this page it is Marco Polo and Hugh of Saint Victor. So these are the two authors on these pages, and on the next page there's something by an anonymous manuscript from the 12th century and another anonymous writing from the 2nd century, and yeah, it's a very, very interesting book. And I know that there's an equivalent on the other side. So this is on beauty. I know that there's one, I don't know the exact title. In French it's Sur la laideur, but I think in English it probably is On Ugliness. Something like that. So that I probably am going to read the opposite at some point, but I'm going to start by finishing on beauty first. Next, the other books that I read, I was about to say they're all fiction, but not quite. Another one is an actual book of art, even though it comes in mass market paperback. This is Sempé, Garder le cap. So basically maintain the heading, and it is a collection of drawings that he did with little captions underneath, and it's just so much fun. I really, really like Sempé. Sempé is a French artist, and I'm going to say that probably every French reader can easily recognize his drawings, because most of us have read Le Petit Nicolas, the Little Nicholas, or rather Little Nicholas, which are short stories with a main character who is perhaps 8 years old, 9 years old, and it's just the adorable stories of this little boy going to school and going on holiday, and relations with his parents, his uncle, the neighbors, and all of that. It's just so funny. And that was written by René Goscinny, who is the author of Asterix. And Sempé did the drawings. So these are books that we read as children and we keep reading them as adults, but we recognize the drawings. It's very familiar. There's something very, very nostalgic about Sempé. Even though he died relatively recently, he kept working until a rather long age. He died on August 11, 2022. He was 89 years old. So he has quite a catalog of things. And there are a few drawings that are about art themselves. For example, this one. So we have the trees going in that direction, this man trying to paint them, and I don't know if you can see, but there's the wife there laying down the picnic for the afternoon. And it says, the man says, "I know this is a good subject, and I know that it's the wind that makes them grow like that, but we'll go somewhere else. They give me too much the impression that they don't trust me." So the trees do not trust him as an artist. I thought that was funny. And then, this one, it's not necessarily funny, it's a bit more philosophical. So you have these two ladies touring a gallery, and they are looking in particular at a sunset or a sunrise. And one of them says, "This art is too serene for me." And yeah, it happens sometimes that the art is too calm and we want something a bit more movement, a bit more emotions, a bit more action in the art. Oh, and this one too, about an artist and his muse. And the muse says, "My job is to inspire you, not to admire you." So yeah, apparently the muse is not impressed by the result. So that reads very quickly, because as you can see, there's not a lot to read. And it was a reread because that had been on my shelves for quite a while, and I had read it before, and I've read it again. And it's just as lovely the second time. Oh, this one is not about art, but it's really funny. So you have these cavemen family, and the adult is looking at the report card. It says, "What? 0 in history, and it's barely starting." Yeah, so I had fun reading and looking at the drawings and just it's just lovely. So if you come across something, a collection of works by Sempé, I highly recommend it, whether it's this one or another one. He did a lot of cartoons for the New Yorker. There's a feel of that in the book, in some of them. And yeah, so it's just really a lot of fun. Next, the other two are works of fiction. So this one, I'm going to start with this one because this one has a translation in English. So in English, this one is Tell Them of Battles, Kings and Elephants, and it is by Mathias, Énard. So the author won the Goncourt Prize in, I don't remember the year. And at the time I had never heard of him and I had never read anything by him, so I decided to try him and not go for the one that had just won the prize. I wanted to read something shorter, and that's the one that I picked. And at the time, I just liked it. I thought it was nice, but that was it. And for some reason, I wanted to reread it. I was just looking, I wanted to reread something. I was just looking at my shelves and I thought, oh, this one's going to be good for Framed in September, because this is a historical novel about Michelangelo's travel to Constantinople. He had been invited by the Sultan to design a bridge across a river. And Leonardo da Vinci too had been invited to design something, but his design was rejected by the engineers as being undoable. And we know that this particular event happened because we know we have the letters from Michelangelo that he sent to his brother. We also have the actual drawing, that the design that Michelangelo provided to the Sultan, and it is reproduced here, it is copied here. So this is Michelangelo's design for a bridge, which is a very elegant bridge. Whether it was doable or not, given the flow and the width of the river, I do not know, but it is a beautiful design. I don't think it ended up not being constructed, but the reasons were not necessarily because of the design, but perhaps more political and financial reasons. But in this book, the author focuses on the act of creation, but he also focuses on love and desire. There's not a lot of story to the book. There's a little bit of a story in the sense that we know that Michelangelo is there to design a bridge. But beyond that, there's not much of a story to it. It's just him being there and the relations and a bit the fact of being plucked out and plucked into a completely different culture. The opposition of East and West, because Constantinople was very much East back then, was the Orient. And it's very atmospheric, and I just love the book. And one of the thoughts that I had was that it's obvious that Énard knows the culture and knows the history of the place very, very well. And it's also obvious that he is not forcing all of his research in the book. Because sometimes with historical novels, we have that impression that the author did so much research and they don't want to waste a single crumb of it, and they just throw everything at us. And in this case, there's a lot in it, but it's very subtle. It's not thrown to our head. So it's wonderful. I really, really loved it. So that's a book about art, about an artist, so Michelangelo, and about the art of creation, the art of creation, I suppose, about the creative aspect of art. So how do you come up with an idea? So there's that. And then the other book that I've read, that is the only one that was in my pile of possibilities video at the beginning of the month. So this is Excusez, les fautes du copiste by Grégoire Polet. So this one is not translated in English. So this is about an artist who was very average. So after he finished his studies in the Fine Arts Academy, his paintings did not sell. He did not manage to get commission. He did not manage to get accepted into galleries. So he ended up being a teacher in a school, because that is the one thing that all of his teachers always told him: your technique is perfect. You have excellent technique. Your technique is pristine. And so that made him able to earn a living from his art. However, it was not particularly fulfilling. And this is the story of how gradually he is being led to become a forger. And because his technique was so fine and excellent, he had no difficulty copying other styles. So this is the story of a forger. It's very entertaining. I'm not going to say that it's the best book I've ever read in my life, but it's very entertaining, and particularly if you're interested in this, in art versus forgery, because that's a thing that I don't quite grasp. Why a particular painting, let's say a painting, it has a great effect on us, and then we learn that, oh no, it's a forgery, and then suddenly, oh, it's worthless. Maybe it's worthless in monetary value, but is it worthless in artistic value? Why are the two connected? So it's interesting for that. And also, I had fun. I decided to write on post-its, on very teeny tiny post-its, all the artists who were named in the book. The artists who are named in the book, the painters, yeah, it's all painters. So Fernand Knopf, who is from Belgium, Peter Bruegel, also from Belgium, Botticelli and Michelangelo, Egon Schiele, Félicien Rops, I think these are Belgians too, Rubens, David Teniers, so I'm going to say it in French, David Teniers le Jeune, so David Teniers the Young, Rick Wouters, or Wouters, I don't know, or Wouters, W-O-U-T-E-R-S, El Greco, Van Rieselberger, James Ensor, Stevens, De Gouve de Nunc, didn't know that one, Whistler, Velasquez, Monet, Rembrandt, Leonardo, Emile Klaus, Henri de Groux, Wirtz, Lévi Durmer. I really squeezed that one on the post-it. Yeah, I think that's what I wrote. I think that's what I wrote. And then Ghirlandaio, Jérôme Bosch, Van Dyck, Magritte, Delvaux, Dali, and Juan Gris. And that's it. These are all the artists that are named in this book. I thought at first that I would make a fancy video where I would put images of paintings of all of these artists. So that's why I wrote it down. But apparently not. I'm filming this on Sunday morning, so that means that I don't have 2 days to make to make a video montage and to edit a video that is going to be very fancy. So you just get the names, and if you want to look them up, well, you do like I did when I read the book. I googled it, so it was very much a book that I read with Google close by, just to have images, because some of them I knew, like Monet, it's fine, I know I don't need images of that, but some others like Énard, I didn't know who that was, so I had to Google that and see a few paintings of that, or yeah, so that's that. Anyway, I'll stop rambling now, and I'm going to say thank you everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you think of them, and I hope you're having a great September reading month and that there's a bit of art in it. À la prochaine!